So that is the position of the police, literally denying the things that Amnesty had reported, including being responsible for those deaths. In some cases, perhaps saying there were no deaths. And they are saying that they did not use excessive force, that some of these people that were involved in all of these things were looting and causing trouble. And some of the guys or persons who were hurt in the process, the people that hurt them were people who owned the property they were trying to loot. So is this back and forth between Amnesty International. But at the proper time, we're going to talk to the police authority and Amnesty International to weigh in on this, because Amnesty is insisting, and they are insisting, that 24 persons were killed and the police is partly responsible. But that is what the police is actually saying in response. But what I talked about before at the beginning of the show is the issue of this stampede. We were yet to get over what happened in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, where 35 miners lost their lives. They went for a party organized by some persons, to share perhaps palliative and just reach out to people, as is a custom in Yuletide season. And some things went wrong and there was a stampede. Well, investigations are still on. 35 young persons, miners, lost their lives. We're yet to recover from that. The next thing we heard, another incident happened in Anambra State, in Okija. The initial numbers were sketchy, but now I think we understand that about 22 persons died in that particular stampede. So you can see some of the pictures. We can't show you all of the visuals because it will be too sensitive for some of our viewers. And then, not too long yesterday, the one that happened in Suleja in Niger State. So altogether, almost about 60 persons have died whilst they were trying to get palliatives being distributed either by authorities or well-meaning individuals. So whose responsibility is it? And there has been a blame game back and forth. Some said we prepared for 5,000. A lot more than that showed up, and the crowd could not be controlled. So some are saying this speaks to the difficult situation Nigeria has found itself. Persons like the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has spoken. Mr. Femi Falana has also spoken about it, chronicling how these things have evolved, and there has been condemnations here and there. And the police has also come out to say, going forward, anybody who wants to do anything in terms of sharing palliatives has to carry the authorities along. So it's a very sad period in our nation right now. The president himself, who is in Lagos, Nigeria right now, has also cancelled some of the social events he was supposed to be part of, just to mourn the loss of these ones who were just going to seek help, and now they are 6 feet beneath the ground. We're joined on the program by two gentlemen. The member representing Gurara, Suleja, Tafa Federal Constituency, a member of the APC, Mr. Damutanko, joining us from Abuja studio, as well as Ben Okpe, is the member representing Sapele Federal Constituency, is a member of the Labour Party, joining us as well from Abuja studios. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
I think the natural place to start is to get your first take. You can take turns, maybe starting with Mr. Tanko, on your initial response to this very sad development. Just people going out to just get by, survive, and they are dead. Just your initial reaction.
Let me first of all thank you for the opportunity to appear on this program, and also to make a little corrections where in the course of the introduction, he introduced me as a member of the APC. I'm actually a member of the PDP.
My apologies.
The situation is very disturbing. It's very disturbing. It's very unfortunate, and it's a source of concern to the situation in the country where people going out to receive succor, and in the course of that, they lost their lives. It's very unfortunate, and it yet again reminds us of our responsibility as leaders. It also reminds us that nature does not allow one person to sit down and share food to people. It requires us to go out and work and earn a living. And it also reminds us that as government and policy makers, we need to come up with ways and means to make sure that people can earn a living through their hard work. Government should give incentives, should make enabling environments, can give subsidies. But the idea of sharing free foods will always result in this kind of chaos. So it's very unfortunate, and I join other Nigerians to mourn and express my sympathy and regret over the sad incidents.
All right, Ms. Akpe, your response, please. If you can hear me, Mr. Ben, just go ahead with your response to this development. Can you hear me, Mr. Ben? Oh, dear. Okay. Yes, Mr. Ben, can you hear me? I wanted you to give your initial response to the development. Okay, apparently maybe you have a bit of an issue. As soon as we get it sorted, we'll get his take. But let me come back to Mr. Tanko, who I'm sure can hear me because of his first response. Some have said that, and I need your take on this, that we're where we are because of the draconian policy, difficult policy, if you will, which the president has said is necessary but difficult, of the APC-led government. And they have said that some people are seeing this as a result of the limited options available on the table is pushing people on the brink of survival. Is that how you characterize what is playing out here? Or this is just a clear case of poor organization?
As I have said, this has to do with the situation of the country. Every one of us is the witness to the inflation, that is high rises of food items, high rise in levels, living standard, and all that, of course, is occasioned by the contemporary times and the power at play. So, but definitely, it also reminds us of the responsibility of leadership and government, that subsidies or palliatives can never be a solution. Palliatives can never and will never be. We have to come up with ways and means to make sure that incentives are given, subsidies all over the world. I mean, there are subsidies for food stalls and all of that. We can allow the rich people can continue to buy houses. The prices of cement can go as much as possible. But when it comes to feeding, the government needs to come up with ways to support agriculture. And if it warrants, we give subsidies on food items, which is necessary. But issues of palliative as a solution will always resort to this kind of chaos, and you'll see a lot of Nigerians losing their lives, unfortunately. So, let's
head back to Abuja studio. I have two gentlemen, if you're just joining us. Adamu Tanko is a member representing Gurara Suleja Tata Federal Constituency, and also Mr. Ben Etana Bena is a member representing Sapele Federal Constituency from the Labour Party. The other gentleman, Mr. Tanko, is from the PDP. Mr. Etana Bena, let me come to you. We haven't gotten your take on this development before we go to other issues. We're reacting to this series of deaths, avoidable deaths, we must add, due to stampede when people went to get palliatives just to get by the Yuletide. Maybe you'll get your quick take and then we'll move on.
Thank you very much for having me, in this program. It's pretty unfortunate, and my heart bleeds, terribly for the loss of innocent and hungry, Nigerians. It's not something that we should be experiencing, at this time. But it tells you the level of hunger, in this country, and that where there is few food, every hungry person will certainly, go there and find what they could eat for themselves, and take back home. It is pretty sad, that we're having this kind of experience, in Nigeria today. It's unprecedented. The hunger is unprecedented. That is just an example. There are many occasions where we don't have stampede. That does not mean that the possibility of such happening is not there. These are just few, examples. So government must do so much, to say how much to reduce the level of hunger, in the country. It was not like that before. It was not like that. Things were fine, at least we were managing better. But in the recent time, the level of hunger, is unprecedented, and people are looking for food everywhere. So my heart bleeds for them, and I want to, ask that all those who are in position, including ourselves, we are also distributing palliatives this period, So we all should be careful and take the necessary precautions, to see that people don't, stampede on others, to get food. I'm really sad. And this is a good call on government, to move fast, to see how much they can do to stop and reduce the level of hunger, in Nigeria.
All right, Mr. Ben, I'll stay with you for a moment. And our thoughts and our prayers are absolutely with the families of those who are mourning at the moment. Young people, minor adults, almost about 50 or so, according to the official numbers we have, from Okija to Niger and then to Ibadan. But that brings me to the issue of what I will call looking at our national fiscal dashboard. The president has come to the National Assembly to present the 2025 budget. And I'm sure the Assembly will look at its performance of the 2024 budget in terms of fiscal performance. So you and Mr. Tanko have mentioned the fact that there is widespread hunger in the land, literally unprecedented, as some people will allude to. But the government keeps saying that we are in the right direction. What will be your response, Mr. Ben?
Okay. I won't go brief, for the government, when they say they are in the right direction. But let me just take a look at this 2025 budget. They tried as much as possible to see how best they can improve on security. The purpose for concern for security is to enable people go to the farms, especially in areas that are affected by all these problems of bandits and terrorists, in the country. So they made so much concern, and budgeted so much, to improve security. Again, they tried as much as possible to see how best they can, boost agriculture. We saw it. But I think we just finished the second reading. As soon as we go into the nitty-gritty of the items, put in the budget, we'll be able to see clearly, the direction of government and assess whether this budget is going to help, to ameliorate the sufferings and hunger, of Nigerians. It's a work in progress. The budget has been submitted. But like we've not completed the 2024 budget. It's still on, was extended, the lifespan of it was extended. Maybe we might take a second look at the way we prepare budget, in Nigeria. We must have an end to one before we begin with the other one. If you finish with one and there are items not completed, you don't simply extend the life of that past one. What you do is to carry over what you could not finish in the last one into the new one. That is my understanding of how budget, is prepared. But to run budgets of different times, concurrently, for me, it's not really the best. But so far, an ambitious budget has been presented, I must say, has been presented to Parliament. Parliament, on its own wisdom, will look into it and check and see if all the nitty-gritties have been tidied to see how best we can solve, the problems we face. Like, we debated the budget immediately it was presented, and so many valuable points, were raised.
Okay.
Members were concerned about repeat of items that should not be appearing again. I think a member was talking about fork and knives. We cannot be seeing fork and knives being repeated in 2025 budget as if fork and knives can only last, for 1 year. All those things, should not appear again, should be expunged. I was particular about government concern in expanding commercial, activities to reducing prices. And what do I mean by this? Our porting activities must be robust. We must find a way to open up the Warri port, the Sapele port, the Cocoa port, the Burutu port, the Onitsha port, the Port Harcourt itself, and the Calabar port. So to see how best that imported goods are not delayed, thereby pushing the charges of demurrage.
All right, Mr. Ben, I will have to come in.
That will be fixed.
All right, Mr. Ben, let me come in and bring in Mr. Tanko. Mr. Tanko, I know you have an interesting perspective as far as the budget is concerned. When we throw the reality of oil production missing mark, FX exchange rates that we're dealing with, high inflation and all of that, the government says our debt to revenue ratio has dropped, NEL fund, FX reserve, trade surplus. But also see that 15 trillion has been reserved in this budget for debt service, which is a high percentage of, in fact, if you add our debt service plus our recurrent expenditure, it can literally swallow what we'll raise in terms of 34 trillion that is anticipated as target. But my question to you will be, the grouse Nigerian citizens always have with members of the National Assembly like you gentlemen is the fact that they feel, Nigerians feel that sometimes thorough work is not done because we can almost predict, we may be wrong, that when this budget is passed, we may have additional input and the budget will be increased, rather than us seeing the members of the National Assembly trying to cut as much as possible so that we cut our cloth according to our size. Sanko, that's for you.
What is the question?
My question is, Nigerians seek due diligence in seeking fiscal prudence and fiscal discipline such that we don't just give big numbers of this budget, we don't just throw big numbers, and when we question as to how the other year was performed, we don't see as much improvement in the next year, but we see this budget size keep increasing, and certain things that should be in the budget are still, that should not be in the budget are still found in the budget. Do you get the question now?
Yes, I get it. So what I can assure you is that the House have received the budget, the National Assembly as a whole, and we have done already the second reading of the budget, and the House is closed and is on recess. And I assure you, as soon as the House resumes, we are going to take a thorough look at the budget. And there is standard procedure for looking into the budget. There are committees that will look into the details of the budget. And of course, the parliamentary input, which is necessary, and which is why the budget is hugely also a parliamentary document, will obviously come in, and most of this input will be about to solving immediate problems that ordinary Nigerians are facing. So I would like to, as a member of the parliament, I would like to boost that confidence that as far as within the power of the House of Representatives, we are going to look at it diligently, and I have confidence that the leadership of the House will make sure that justice is done to look at the budget critically and make the necessary adjustment. Where there are wastes, we work to close them on, and then where there are rooms to create greater efficiency, I have confidence that we are going to work towards that. So I want to assure Nigerians that the 10th House of Representatives and the National Assembly as a whole are going to work holistically to see that the 2025 budget is improved above what the President has brought before us.
So let me start with you, Mr. Tanko. Let me rephrase my question yet again, but still around that point. Okay. We've always seen this budget come out with bigger size, maybe an additional 1 trillion or 2 trillion. But the impact is not really felt down the line by the citizens. So when that is not felt down the line by the citizens assessment, would you say you did a great job?
I wouldn't really necessarily agree that the impact is not felt down the citizen, because as a member of the House of Representatives, I know what we do, and I know the level of engagement that we do with the citizens. We are the closest to the people at the grassroots. We share the people's concern. We are the closest to our people. Whatever comes up, we are the first point of contact. And most of the programs or the project that is pursued by members of the National Assembly, they are people-oriented. They are meant to provide immediate succor to the plight that Nigerians go through.
All right, Mr. Ben, let me come to you. I know that a couple of things are before the National Assembly, including the budget, including the tax reform bill, and all of this. But when you look at the 2025 budget vis-a-vis the tax reform bill, what is your projection of the kind of economy Nigeria should be looking at? Because the economy is an important conversation. That is why people are going to places to look for whatever food that is available to be shared by whoever, whether it's in form of palliative or the other, and then we're recording debt at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you very much. I am hopeful that with the budget of 2025 and the tax reform bill being in place, we will reduce as much as possible the borrowing of money from outside, and thereby increasing the amount of money we can generate, through the VAT, and taxes. This will help to stimulate the economy. People will begin to look inward to see how best, especially states, to see how best they can generate, projects and areas where they can make improvement, to generate more money, for themselves. So I see, I'm in support of the tax bill, and I know it's good, and it will help government to, get more money. But I must advise that we should, as much as possible, stay away, from borrowing, of money. We are paying too much, servicing our debts, and it's really helping economic development. By the way, the budget is always good on papers. It is the implementation that is the problem. Each time budget comes and go, they look very good. They look very ambitious. This one is no exception, to the ones that we have had in the past. But my concern is how much can we operate this budget successfully, and accomplish at least a large percentage, of it done. And in so doing, one key area that we must focus on is corruption. We must reduce corruption to the barest minimum, because a budget of 49 trillion, if you really estray it very well, do the proper oversight, the proper cut down, on very unnecessary expenses, I think we will not be talking about 49 trillion. It will be lower, than that. So corruption and all these things put together, if properly implemented, we will be talking about a situation where Nigerians will feel the impact, and there will be less hunger, and all this scrambling of food, from various palliative points, will be a thing of the past.
Let's move on from the issue of the economy to some issue that has to do with politics. And this is the last take on this. Let me come to you, Mr. Tanko. One of the concerns Nigerians are having is effective opposition. The other parties, I know there's problem in every political party, including the ruling party. But when it comes to the Labour Party and maybe the PDP, it looks like it's like it festers every other day, every other week, with postponement of NEC, with disagreement among interest groups and all of that. So would you say that the opposition in Nigeria is really helping the citizens to be able to stand up to the policies of this government that Nigerians feel that is not in their best interest?
Yeah, actually there are congent or valid issues that you point to with respect to the situation of the opposition in the country. But we also need to realize that Nigeria's democracy is still evolving, and it's not as institutionalized as the advanced democracies, where you see a very coherent opposition, where oppositions accept their fate and oppositions and play the role of oppositions. The democratic process is still evolving, and of course there are, as you have rightly pointed, there are issues with the organization of the opposition, perhaps because the largest opposition party has the record of being in power. It has become used to the operations, to functioning as a ruling party, and then I think it is yet to adapt to settle strategically to function very efficiently as an opposition party. You can see with all the crises, all the incoherence that is ongoing, this is valid. So I cannot stand here confidently to say that the opposition is organizing Nigerians or mobilizing Nigerians to act.
All right, let me take the same question to Mr. Ben, Etana Bena, because of time. The position of the opposition, quite weak. Labour Party seems to be the worst off when it comes to how disarrayed or distorted the political parties are, comparing Labour Party with maybe what we can call the second, the biggest opposition, which is the PDP, number of governors and members of the House. What exactly is going on with your party? And why is the party inability to be able to put itself together to be able to give Nigerians that opposition that will require to run a proper democracy?
You see, Labour Party is trying its best. Nigerians do not follow everything that happens, in Congress every day. We are trying their best to keep up, opposition, in government. The only thing is that in Nigeria, any ruling party has only one desire, is to run aground, opposition party. You see, majority, they say, wins the day. Why minority and opposition can shout, but there's a limit, to it. We are trying our best. The Labour Party seems not to have a problem. The Labour Party is united, together with its leader, Peter Obi, and the national chairman, Julius Abure. There's no much problem. If the area is about this defection, some few days ago by some members, it has to do with the confidence of our electoral process. The elections they have done in the recent time does not suggest, that we are making improvement in the electoral process. So many of them are scared that come the next election, it will be the way the ruling party is organizing this election. So why not just go to the ruling party, and feel secured? That is where the problem is. It's not about that there is opposition or there's a problem, with the Labour Party. That is why they are moving from one place, to where they are going to. No. The ruling party also believe that the only way they can secure government in 2027 is as much as possible cause a lot of disaffection in the opposition party, then use that as a means to lure many of the members, into the ruling party and weaken, the opposition. That is the tactics, that is going on. But it will not work. For the Labour Party, I can assure you, we are united behind Mr. Peter Obi as the leader and Julius Abure as the chairman, of the party. In a short while, I think Nigerians will begin to understand, how much, we have been trying. There are no issues in the National Assembly.
We're totally out of time, Mr. Ben. My apologies.
That we have not talked about. We have talked about all these things on the floor of the House. From subsidy to palliative to corruption, we have all said all these things. But like I said, the voices of the majority is far more than that of the opposition. That is why you're not seeing much of it.
All right, Mr. Ben Etana Bena is a member representing Sapele of a federal constituency in the House of Reps, as well as Mr. Adamu Tanko Gurara Suleja Tafa Federal Constituency, where I represent in Niger State. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program. I wish you the very best.